Hey everyone, I'm out here in the garage and what we're going to be doing today is removing some double-sided molding adhesive from the body of my truck. So stay tuned. So I have this 1982 GMC C2500 pickup that I've had for about 15 years now, and that truck sits under a cherry tree in my front yard. I kind of neglected it a little bit, to be honest with you. It gets pretty dirty. I washed it. I posted some pictures on Instagram after I washed it. That took probably about 3 hours to do that. It's quite a chore to wash that truck when it does get really dirty. So I've decided to do a little bit of a refresh on that truck, just kind of clean it up a little bit. On the side, there's some moldings, and those moldings tend to go bad over time. They start to flake a little bit. You get the little plastic that comes off on them. And so I pulled some of the moldings off, and that left some double-sided adhesive there that dried over time, and that's kind of turned pretty rock hard. And so I need to get that off the truck so I can put the new moldings on. So let's get into it. All right, let's start by talking about what we're dealing with here. Basically, the paint on this truck is single stage, meaning there is no clear coat. Because there is no clear coat, adhesives bond much better and are more difficult to remove than typical base coat clear coat paint. So we have to be a little bit careful about how we attack the adhesive. Honestly, I don't really care about the paint on this truck because I currently only use it to haul, and it will need to be repainted at some point anyway. Now, if you want to protect the paint around the area in which you're working, you could tape it off and put plastic over what's not being touched. I just added some tape here for demonstration purposes. So a couple different options I considered were some 3M adhesive remover I'd had in the cabinet for a few years, or a 3M eraser wheel. I started with the eraser wheel on a drill, which kind of worked, and I imagine that it works much better on slicker surfaces like base coat clear coat paint. After some trial and error, I ultimately settled on the 3M adhesive remover for this job. When working with this adhesive remover, I would recommend wearing at least gloves and goggles, and a respirator should be worn if you're working in an area that's not well ventilated. I sprayed a liberal coating of the 3M remover on the adhesive, let it soak in for a minute or so, then knocked down the raised adhesive with a plastic putty knife. I repeated this process until the only adhesive left was a thin film. Next, I used some 91% isopropyl alcohol on a microfiber cloth to dissolve most of what was left, moving to a new spot on the cloth periodically as I clean. If you do care about your paint, I would recommend diluting the alcohol quite a bit with water to start, then going heavier strength as needed. There was still a thin residue left under the molding that I sanded off with sandpaper. I started with 1500 grit on a soft sanding block, and I would finish with around 2500 grit before polishing. If you're looking for an inexpensive polish that can be found in many stores, you may want to check out Meguiar's Ultimate Compound. All right, so there you have it. There's removing double-sided dried adhesive from my truck. And hopefully this information was helpful. And thanks for watching.